As you say, this game is extremely important because if you do lose here, you have to win twice in order to make up for it because you have to play more people in the losers round. That's just how it goes. As you can see on the screen here, we have the picks from game number 1, game number 2, and that means that the teams from each side cannot pick their own picks from those games in this game number 3. Makes it obviously more difficult, though. We were talking in the break, Infinity, that
Mm-hmm.
there were some weird picks going on in games number 1 and number 2, like a Jungle Camille, like the all flex lineup here from Nexplay. So there's actually a surprising number of strong champions remaining.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? D2, Aurelion Sol is not gonna be used in every single matches by Nexplay Esports. It has been banned in game 1. It has been used in game 2 by the side of Omega Esports, and now it's gonna be banned once more. Uzi is not gonna have its masterpiece. Aurelion Sol is not gonna be used by Nexplay Esports.
Yeah, it's a feels bad, man. If you're he's like, what? I feel so targeted. I feel so targeted. Graves, Graves being banned twice and then picked here from Nextplay. That's even more surprising to me. I feel like I'm missing something because he wasn't even that much of a priority in many of our other matches. But we're having our draft filled out here. Braum and Alistair, the supports from each side. Big beefy boys. Not too much of a surprise there. The time-lapse's favorite champion in Jin going over to the side of Omega as well. Akali obviously is extremely strong. Same thing with Lee Sin. So very strong drafts on both sides thus far, with Nextplay trying to figure out their last 2 picks here. Xinjiao, a little bit surprising here, but given how many junglers they already picked in previous rounds, not the most surprising thing in the world. Kaisa going to be helping out there as well. And they're going to be finishing up with they're hovering a Garen and a Fiora, and those people play the same role. Actually, hovering the Evelynn now.
Ooh.
So, haven't seen Evelynn in a hot minute since she got nerfed. So, might be interesting to take a look at that.
I was thinking Evelynn jungle, but Nextplay Esports doesn't have a mid laner, so I think Evelynn is going to mid lane. Yeah. Jungler would be the Xinjiao, Braum would be the support, Kaisa would be the ADC, and Uzi with the Garen would go to the Baron lane. And I think Xinjiao is really strong, but on the early game, it is not gonna scale out late game. That would be the problem for Nextplay Esports against Omega Esports on this specific game number 3.
Well, I don't know. I think I disagree. I think Xinjiao can be perfectly strong, particularly in that mid game. I think that's why they banned the Graves as well, because way back when Xinjiao was over tooled, basically he had too many stats to his name. One way to deal with him was to invade with Graves, and so I think they specifically banned the Graves just so they can pick this Xinjiao here. So Nextplay, obviously thinking ahead. That said, this has produced one of the weirder drafts. In the end, because we don't really see Evelynn that much. We don't see Xinjiao that much. Garen is kind of like a pick to oppose an opposing side laner, which we do see in that Akali. As far as Omega's concerned, it's pretty standard. If you told me this was a game 1 draft, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah. Like you have the Jin, and the Akali's gonna come through for the side of Omega Esports at this game number 3. We might see the potential.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I mean, we've seen the strength of the Akali of Omega Esports, right? From series number 1 of the playoffs. So, I'm expecting a lot of things coming in for that Akali right now for game number 3 from the side of Omega Esports.
I'm worried about Nextplay. I'm just worried about Nextplay because they have a reasonable comp, but they're going against Time-Lapse's Jin. And Jin is absolutely Time-Lapse's favorite champion. When we weren't in the all-round ban pick situation, when we were just playing in the group stage, he always picked Jin whenever he could, especially when it even remotely fit the composition. So Nextplay, they had a dominant game 1. Game 2, they kind of messed around with this weird no ADC comp and got kind of punked. And now they're on the verge of getting sent to the lower bracket because they've let this Jin through to Time-Lapse. And if you pay attention for even a second, you know that that's absolutely his favorite champion. I feel like I feel like this could have been they could have foreseen this coming, right? They could have gone for the snipe ban and gone for the Jin here. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm a bit worried for Nexplay. I mean, it could be all moot point, right? Nexplay could come out, look exactly like they do in game 1, and kind of dominate. But I'm worried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even know how this gonna turn out. It's hard. It's hard to really determine how the game is gonna come through. But what I'm thinking right now is, as you stated a while ago, Jin is gonna be very strong for this game. Especially against a Kaisa, I think Jin would have the upper hand in terms of burst damage potential, in terms of. But in terms of a team fight, when you're all in, I think Kaisa would be, much more dominant with the ultimate, trying to go for the back end, and potentially even sniping out Jin in the process. So it's basically just about execution. These two drafts has their own advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons, as you may say it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what you're talking about with the advantages, right? I think that Nexplay has the better team fight comp, and
Mm-hmm.
and Omega has the better kind of snipe comp, right? To get singular picks. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's smart for Omega, because I think Nexplay has better team play in general. They're better at making calls. They're better at
Mm-hmm.
going as a team. But Omega have very good individual players. So if they can just avoid all out 5v5 team fights and just try to get picks, I think Omega can steal this one. I think they just need to focus on getting one pick at a time, like this here. Trying to go on the gank onto Evelyn. She's getting extremely low, and she's gonna get it taken out. That's exactly the start that Omega is looking for.
Yeah, that just supports the statement that you stated a while ago, right? Wherein Smart Omega really really strong when it comes to ganking, when it comes to skirmishing against the enemy team, but the team fight, it's kind of lacking. So I think NXP really needs to go for that team clashing potential against Smart Omega, especially early into the matchup, so that Jin could not scale out, Akali could not scale out, and that is going to be very important to the side of NXP.
Yeah, well, all that was happening, and we were it's talking about things happening. We have yet another kill up in the top lane. This time is Nexplay actually pushing in onto that Akali and getting her taken out there. That's a huge play, because making sure that Akali doesn't get out of control is one of the ways to victory here if you are Nexplay. So very well done by them. You're seeing both teams' strengths come into play here, right? Nexplay just all out good team play, good rotation, and getting 3 in that top lane to guarantee that pick, whereas we have the Omega side going for more of a like an outplay, an execution play when they got their own pick.
It's now 1-1, but it's gonna be the 1K gold lead, or 800 gold lead, if you may say it, for the side of NXP. I think they've gotten a lot of third plates in the top lane, and that means they have the early advantage in terms of items against Smart Omega on this game. But it is indeed gonna be minute of an advantage, as we are still in the 3-minute mark of the game right now, D2.
Yeah, exactly. We have a potential gank coming here in the top lane. The 100 fruit going to be stolen just to be an absolute nuisance. Kaisa all by her lonesome. Can't really do a whole lot by herself. Brom's going to go ahead and try to help her out, see what he can do here. Going to be pushing in onto this lane and just scaring them away. Keep in mind, I believe this is the Baron lane, so they kind of switched places at the moment. Dragon obviously not a little whiles away from spawning here. And looks like both teams are going to back off. And good job here from Omega, getting back to gold parity at the moment. Both teams sitting at 10.2k gold.
Top.
Oh yeah, they're going for the not necessarily the game. Well, it is actually a game, because 3v2 at the situation right now, and Alistair does go down. Curtain call gets popped here, extremely low. Are they going to be able to block properly? And that is good teamwork right there. You just got to have your Xinjiao block for your Braum sometimes. When your Braum's low, you got to get some help.
We could state it once more, right? Support the support. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've used it earlier, but we can use it once more right now. Supporting the support. It's basically just teamwork. It's just basically supporting your teammates, whatever role you may be, because you need to get, the damage out for people that are low, right? So yeah, it's just
I've definitely been unsupported as support before. I've definitely seen a curtain call coming. I had like 1 health, but my ADC was full health, and I'm like, please, please block it for me. And they're just like, what? they're like dodging it. They're just like doing their best to dodge it. Like, no. And I could just get taken out. It's a feels bad mad moment. Anyway, looks like we have our Drake spawning right now. Ocean Drake. That is first onto it is going to be Omega, but they're going to swiftly back off as they see multiple members of Nexplay coming into the fray here. The Rip Skill actually going to be a point of a contention, going to go over to the side of Omega in the end. I do believe, yes, it does go to them. And so that's going to be very nice. They have that vision there. Going to be difficult for Nexplay to try to take it, and also gives Omega obviously that vision if they want to make a play for it themselves. 4 members in the area. Both teams kind of just nibbling around. Not really doing a whole lot. Evelyn potentially in trouble. 4 members of Omega in the area. Are they going to try to push under it? They indeed are, and completely pushing her back. You can see on the mini-map that Brawl is rotating potentially over to the area. This looks like it's going to be a turret taken. And with the inability to rotate in time, they're going to go for the Drake, but they're unable to take it before the members of Omega get back. Are they going to be able to deal with this? The ult comes out from Bomb, like able to take it. It goes over to Xinjiao on that blue team, but can they handle this fight? Braum is already dead. Spin to win comes out here, trying to hold on as best as they can, but Zed is getting aggressive upon. The curtain call comes out as well. Evelyn goes ahead and finishes off the Zed here. I can't even tell what's going on anymore as the Lee Sin falls, multiple members fall. At the end of the day, I believe it was a 2 for 2, I think? Yeah, 2 for 2.
Yeah. Whew. It's now going to be the 800 or 1k gold lead coming to the side of Smart Omega. I mean, their comp is made to be like this. Going in for those guys, going in for those individual kills against the enemy team, and they've done it successfully. And even having the top first blood going in for their team as well, makes it honestly hard for NXP. Yeah, it
honestly all started with that Rift Skeletor, right? Because they got the vision, which allowed them to go mid, and they knew exactly where Nexplay was, and that allowed them to set up that whole situation. They get the turret, and they get a reasonable fight. They give it the dragon, but ends up working out in the end.
Absolutely. And now it's gonna be the Air Rift Herald open for anyone to take. The NXP is gonna initiate this one. The question would be, is it gonna be long enough? Because there is Smart Omega. Looks like we're back.
Yeah, we are back. We lost connection for a little bit there. Looks like the Rift Herald was taken. Unfortunately, Infinity, I do not know who it went to in the end. It looks like most likely Omega.
Smart.
Yeah, it looks,
Smart Omega.
Okay. Oh yeah, you can see it on Lee Sin's thing there. Huh? Okay, interesting. So yeah, Lee Sin was able to take it in the end. We kind of figured as such because we saw Nexplay kind of starting it, but they weren't able to leash it completely away, and that means Omega take that advantage and get in there. This is probably the closest game we've had so far, even in this series thus far. I mean, Omega dominated game 2, Nexplay dominated game 1. First time we're actually seeing a very close game here as the potential game comes onto the Akali. Silenced, but still is able to get that shroud off, and multiple members are rotating over to this bottom lane. Can the members of Nexplay get away? Looks like they are going to be able to in the end, and it is a fruitless attempt. Wow, ult comes out onto the Evelyn. I actually wasn't expecting that to happen. The ult comes out from Evelyn as well. Tries to keep herself alive. An ult exchange for an ult. Zed's gonna go ahead and back away. Lee Sin, hello. Kaisa, no! Kaisa, no! She's probably looking at her items or something. Completely left open is the Evelyn. They go down for no retribution, but the fight still continues. The ult actually comes out trying to get on this Alistar, but he's a beefy boy. They're going to turn their sights over to the Akali now. She's pulled out her charge to try to stay alive as long as possible. The Alistar does go down in the end, but rejoining the fight is at least, and actually gets massive damage off, and that is 2 falling here for Nexplay. The curtain call comes as well, trying to get even more kills for Omega Smart. And in the end, as we take a survey of the situation, looks like it was a 3-for-1 in favor of Omega, as they let the Rift Herald go. Omega is taking this game by the horns.
Let's look at the replay brought to you by Trovo. They're clashing in the mid lane, basically. But you know what? Smart Omega has the advantage when it comes to gold. They have the advantage when it comes to items. And now they're dominating when it comes to 1v1. Because look at that, right? NXP was split up. There's no follow through. There's no initiation coming in for the side of Nexplay Esports on that specific engagement. And overall, when you don't have that team fight initiation, the side of Smart Omega is gonna win it all when it comes to that individual fights against the enemy team.
Yeah, it looks like Nexplay getting a little impatient there, right? Because they pop so many abilities, including at least one ult onto an Alistair. And it's like, what is the upside there? It's like high risk, low reward, right? If you get the Alistair, it's like, great, you got an Alistair. It's not that big of a deal. And instead they got turned on and experience the high risk part of that equation. In comes Elise and jumping onto multiple members. He can try to back off, but the members of Nexplay are caught. Kai'Sa goes down immediately. Here comes the curtain call to try to get the damage on them, and they are receiving that damage. They're still pushing on. Oh my goodness, Brawl actually does go down to the curtain call in the end, and Garen and the Xin Zhao can only try to run away at the end of all of it, and that leaves the Dragon completely available here for Omega to take, as well as another turret, as Zed wasn't even part of that fight, Infinity.
Now it's just on a fringe edge for the side of NXP. Like, how can you put it back into the game, considering that you are currently at a 6k gold disadvantage against the enemy team at a 10-minute mark, and considering that there is also 4 turrets by Smart Omega against yourself. Inhibitor turret only remaining for mid and top lane. So one gank that NXP would lose, that's surely going to be the inhibitor turret going to the side of Smart Omega in their favor. So I think it's just going to be safe play right now for NXP.
You know what's funny as I'm watching this game is that it seems to the naked eye that even though Omega has a reasonable comp, but they're not the most synergistic, right? Because they have a lot of single target champions, and you have people like Alistair who are more of a wombo combo setter upper. But it ends up working out for them because for Nexplay, they can't really engage the fight in any perfect manner. If they spread out, they get picked off one by one. If they group together, then Alistair is going to go ahead and knock them all up. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's weirdly working out here for Omega.
Yeah. And you should not go for those split push that we're seeing right now. Like Evelyn into the bottom lane. How could she react that far from the top jungle side when a clash occurs? Right? It's too far.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. She's trying to match the Zed, but it's not really working out. The Zed just kind of does his own thing. She's kind of pushing not too far. There is still that all 3 turrets down left over in that bottom lane, so she's trying to be able to match that. But here we have Omega potentially taking this Baron, putting pressure on, obviously, Zed's pushing into that bottom lane, so keeping it very difficult for them to move forward. And that is a snipe behind the turret by Zed, and they're going to be pushing forward to try to take on this team fight very deep into the fight. However, is one of the members of Omega going to be able to barely get out of there? At least in is, by the way, and they're pushing in even farther. The 1v1 in that river. I'm not even sure who these members are, but looks like one of them has the GA. Actually, I'm getting a bit of a slideshow. Apologies to our viewers. And there is the jump in from the Akali to take out the Garen. He's trying to make his escape. In the end, it doesn't look good for Nexplay. I think they lost after they lost the Evelyn. I believe they lost 2-1 in that team fight in the end, and yeah, not looking good for them.
Yeah, and imagine if Evelyn was there. That was an extra charm for your team, an extra damage for your team. And yes, the bottom turret would be taken.
Though. Yeah, she can't really be there though.
Yeah, anyway, go on. Yes, the bottom turret would be taken, but you still have the chance to go for prolonged fights against your enemy teams, and you really need everyone, considering that AK Goldie is going to the side of Smart Omega at this point in time. So everything would be necessary for your team to try and survive and to try and make some plays. And if Zed tries to split push in the bottom lane, then go for that gank into the bottom lane, take off Zed, and go react on what happens next.
Yeah, it just seems like overall the Evelyn just hasn't been the greatest pick here for Nexplay. Not really making that to work for them. Looks like a bait coming out here from Omega, pretending to go onto the Baron, but immediately jumping onto the members of Nexplay, and they got them extremely low. In comes the Zed. He's here for this fight this time around, and already the Braum has gone down. So too has another member. I can't tell. Speech blur. I'm so sorry. There goes the Kai'Sa, I believe, because she has purple hair. Infinity, again. It's the same story again. Omega doing extremely well to bait out this Baron and take a team fight, and they've taken a 3-0 lead in that team fight. And that means that they're going to be taking this Baron and pushing in for the win.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We've actually talked about it already a while ago in terms of draft. What's gonna be the initiation from NXP? Right? Yeah, you have the Brawl, sure. What's next? Right? What's to follow up? There's nothing else. And yes, you could use maybe the Sinjao to try and go for the backline play. But is it really gonna be enough? And the Evelyn was keep on dying. It's far apart. So the charm was really out of the equation for the side of NXP. So basically, overall, no initiations would be coming from NXP at this point.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you bring up there because, not much initiation there from NXP, but on the other hand, Omega has all the initiation in the world. It seems like anytime a fight breaks out, they're chomping at the bit to see who's going to be first into the fight. They're all jumping in. Even time-lapse on the Jin there is so proficient at that champion that he's just like, shoot, I'll start the fight. I'll get a root off. We can do this. It just makes it so difficult here for Nexplay, especially down, over 10k gold. Looks like around 12k at the moment. Pushing here is Omega. They're trying to push on this mid turret. Nexplay is there to meet them. They know they have to make a play right here, right now, but unable to get too much damage, even hiding behind the turrets as they're the ones who get damage in the end. And the turrets themselves are taking damage as well from these enhanced minions from the Baron. Splitting up is Omega, pushing into all lanes at once. Big wave here into the bottom lane, met by Nexplay, but that means that other turrets are going to be falling. Top and inhibitor turret all the way falling there. The mid inhibitor turret not long after, excuse me. And that's going to be Omega pushing in as hard as they can. Bottom inhibitor turret falls as well. This is a full-on teammate back at the Nexus. The curtain call is called here. Everyone's falling here from Nexplay. And after an absolutely dominant game one of the most surprising results in the tournament, Omega completes the comeback and takes the series 2 games to 1.